Part 2, Zephaniah 3. Now we're getting into Zephaniah 3:8. The interesting thing about this one verse is that it has every one of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, including the 5 Sophite letters, in this one verse, Zephaniah 3:8. Lakan, translated simply therefore, is Lamed Kaf Nun. Lamed means as, and Kaf Nun, pronounced can, is, or ken, means yes, so, truly, thus. So in English it says, therefore, this is absolutely the truth. This is what's going to happen. Lamed Kaf means go, to you, walk. If you put a hey, a yod, a tav, or an m, a mem in front of it, you get the word halakha, yalaka, talaka, melech, walk as if it was absolutely true. Therefore, what you understand in this alphabet by these letters being Yahuwah's sworn oath to his people, live, conduct yourself, and walk as if it was absolutely true, regardless of what you see, the timing that you think, gee, it should have happened by now. Yod Chet Lamed means wait, hope, expect, long for, fish with a hook. How do you fish with a hook if you're in a hurry? You throw the fish in, the hook in, and pull it in real fast and throw it out again, and pull it in real fast and throw it in again. That's not the way you fish with a hook. You do that because you're in a hurry, and it's not going to work. You toss it in, and you just got to sit there like you're doing nothing. It drives me nuts. Some people love fishing. It says, Kumi la'ad. I will arise to plunder. La'ad means as witnessed, as testified, as promised and warned. Ki mishvati la esaf goyim. For my mishvat, to assemble, is when I assemble the nations. Kind of like a world forum. United Nations General Assembly. New World Organization, global referendums. When we see the big guys, political, military, economics, scientists, health organizations, gathering together so that they can, oh man, really just nail the rest of us. Is it them doing it or is it Yahweh doing it? He said, when the time comes for him, for Yahweh, to rescue his people, come pounding down in fury against his enemies, he's going to gather them together. So when we look at the news events and we think, oh no, they're gathering together. Or we could say, woohoo, you go, Yahweh, come on, get them. Like he said he was going to. What's our attitude going to be when we see the news events? Lamed Kuf Bet Zadi, kibbutz, collect, gather, company, community, compile, assemble, heaped in the same orbit. Ma melekot, kingdoms. He's going to gather the kingdoms and the nations together. La Shin Pei Kaf. Eliham. Shin Pei Kaf is water pourer. You know, like that constellation? Quill driver, pen pusher, long-winded, verbose, oily, juicy, succulent, to bore out as your language indicates. Lamed Shin Pei Kaf. So Shin Pei Kaf doesn't just mean to pour out water, but Shin Pei Hey and Shin Pei Kaf is language. Kaf suffix means your. So he's basically saying, as it says in your language, did you learn it? Did you learn how to read Kuf Resh Aleph? Did you take the time to study Aleph Vav Tav Yod, every letter of my alphabet? Do you know what my Aleph Tav is? Remember I told you it was going to happen? All that's just in this word Lamed Shin Pei Kaf. Zion Ayin Mem Yod, my black snake. All Charon Afi, all my nose of burning fury, wrath. Kaf Yod, because for then Ba'ash, in fire, Kuf Nun Aleph Tav Yod, my zealous, jealous, Tav Aleph Kaf Lamed, eat, consume, devour all the earth. Huh? What about the tribulation? I thought the bad guys got to win until until he took us out of here. That's not the story that I read here. And then he gets into 3:9. See, that was just Zephaniah 3:8. That's the setup. What it looks like he's doing right now, if he is gathering together the big shots with big plans and big ideas of what they're going to do to us, you will own nothing and enjoy it. Yeah. What I own is the mind and heart of Yahuwah's words of promise. That's what I own. That's Jerusalem, the inheritance that he promised us. The heritage is his words of truth. It's not about stuff and material possessions. Then it sets up Zephaniah 3:9. And then it goes on to Zephaniah 3:10. Interesting little thing just to present here for your consideration for your homework study is it says, Lamed Nun He Resh Yod Kus Vav Shin. On the other side of the rivers of Cush. Rivers is Nahar. Doesn't say Naharim, it says Nahari. So Nahar can also mean shine, beam, flow, stream. Cush, remember, is the spindle that gets wrapped up. So imagine if you take a thindle and you wrap it up with the alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Hek. So the Aleph, Bet on the full spindle, but what's on the other side? Well, what happens if you unwind it? From the other side of the river of Cush, Mem, Ayin, Bet, Resh. Hebrew, Ayin, Tav, Resh, abundant, plentiful, in excess, granting prayer request. And then Bat Zion, Yobalun, Ma Nachti. One way to read that would be daughter of the Pevav Zadi Yod, Putzi, dispersed, scattered, but it also means to speak. Yod, Vav, Bet Lamed, Vav Nun. Well, Bet Lamed. So I was talking about Zephaniah 3:10, how he talked about on the other side of the rivers of Cush, but you could say on the other side of the shining, beaming, wrapped up on the spindle. So what if you unwrap the spindle? Just playing around, what if you could say that the storyline of getting Israel, getting the covenant, going stupid, going into dispersion, and then coming back, play that backwards. So I just, wrote down the next things through verse 20 and say, well, what if the being wrapped up is the Tav, and then talking about granting the prayer request at the time when the curse has worn out its sentence, Sheen, the provisions, on that day you'll not be ashamed, seeing how you wantonly sinned against me. Resh, I will remove from your midst those who exult in your arrogance. Kuf. So just reading the alphabet sequence backwards, you will no longer continue to be haughty on my Har Kadoshi, Zadi. I will leave in your midst humble and destitute people taking shelter in the name of Yahweh. Pay, remnant of Israel, not commit corruption. Ayin, not speak falsehood, deceitful tongue not in their mouth. They will graze and lie down with none to make them afraid. This is all just in truth and peace. Well, it hasn't happened yet. But this is like just reading, that'd be like, say, the letter Ayin. Again, the Ayin drawn like an eyeball, like a fruit with a seed in itself, but also like a pasture with the flock within it in safety. Sing, daughter of Zion, sound the trumpet, Israel. Well, that sounds like Yom Teruah. That would be the samach, like the menorah. Be glad and exult in all your heart, daughter of Jerusalem. Do not despair. Noon, Yahweh's removed your mishpat and cleared away your enemy. Why would he remove our judgment and take away the enemy? There's only one reason. Not only did Yeshua die on the cross to cleanse us, not only is the end of the 2,730-year curse come about and run its course, But Israel returns to listen to the voice of Yahuwah, its Elohim. That's the occasion, taking it to heart. Mem. Verse 15, then, Yahweh your Elohim is in your midst, the mighty one who saves. Never again fear evil. Lamed and Kaf. No fear, no despair. Yod, he will rejoice over you with gladness. This is his hand. He will be Het Reshin with his love. Now that's translated silent, like the word hush, but this is setting up Zechariah chapter 2, verse 1, where he sends in 4 really scary carpenters. Harashim, translated silent, but also, I believe it's knowing what these letters mean. He will be silent with his love, or he will be exactly like he said in the letters, symbolized by just the writing, without even verbalizing. If you know what the letters mean, every letter speaks of his love. He will be joyful over you with glad song. That's like the letter tet, like the full basket of overflowing. Het, I have gathered those who have mourned for the moed, the appointed time. Zion, you who carried the reproach of winter, looked like it was Het Resh Pei, like it was nothing, and yet you persisted in believing and hoping, the word fish with a hook. Though you were taunted and reviled. Vav, I will crush all those who afflicted you. Hey, I will save the crippled and cast off, make them for praise and good name. Dalet, that I bring you in. I kibitz you. Gimel, bringing you, tethering you to me. I make you a good name and praise among all the peoples of the earth. Bet, when I return your captives before your eyes, Aleph, the Amer Yahweh. And again, the whole reason for reading this in the backwards order is just like wrapping up the spindle, unwrapping the spindle. And what's on the spindle? The Aleph through Tav. Play with it however you want, to see it however you want, but it seems like it works. It works as an exercise to wrap my mind about what he said. And when I end up with the game plan at the very beginning, so declares Yahweh, Amer Yahuwah, I will return your captive in your own eyes. You will see it. Well, and it's all contingent on the restoration of this language. That's the point. Then, touching on Haggai, chapter 2, verse 22, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, I am upsetting thrones of kingdoms, destroying the strength of kingdoms of the nations. I will overturn chariot and its drivers. Horses and riders will fall, one by the sword of the other. What part of that is the tribulation where we get chewed up by the dragon? It's not there. So why does people keep talking about that? That's all they see. They feed that energy pool. Feed Yahweh's words energy pool. On that day, Nam Yahweh's avot, I will take you, Zerubbabel, Zion Resh, Bet Lamed. Well, Bet is gateway. Bet Lamed, gateway to confusion. Zion Resh Bet, to take a pot of clay and squeeze it and pull the spout so that you can pour something. Press together to flow like a nozzle. Son of Shealtiel. Well, Tiel is where you get the word theology. Shall is like to ask, shall I do this? So you might say, begged, inquired, theology. Obedi, my servant who works for me, worships me. Basically, he says, and I have made you like a signet ring. I have chosen you. Why would he say that? What does that mean? The word for signet ring is het vav tav mem. Again, invoking Daniel 12:4, hide the words and seal the book. The word seal, het tav mem. This is het vav tav mem. It means to put a seal on, like that insignia that's like that, the wax ring picture. Subscribed for a time, affixed a signature to, authorized underwriter, legal attorney, or something closed for a duration. And then the word, I have placed you, is Semitic. I mentioned that just the tail end of last week. Shin Mem Tav. He wrote to the Semitic language that he chose. The word Bechar Tav Yod, I have Bechar chosen, but Het Resh Tav, Bet could be the prefix letter, Het Resh Tav, engraved, carved, and inscription. Charat. So that when you jump then into Zechariah, the end of chapter 1 or beginning of chapter 2, depending on where you read, he sees 4 Chareshim. And the word Charesh means carpenter or craftsman, but it's also a plowman or one who carves into wood or clay or metal, inscribing. To inscribe, it also means silent, deaf, mute. So it seems like Zechariah is just playing off of the same occasion as Zephaniah about at that time that it restores a pure language. He's shown 4 horns in Zechariah 2:1, and he says, what are these? Oh, these are the horns that dispersed Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. But the word for horn is actually kufresh nun, beam, radiate, splendor, glory, ray, shine, strength, power, might, culture, pride, intelligence, art, invention, technological and military. What foreign Quran actually had devastated Israel? None. Yahweh was the Quran of Israel. Until Israel turned its back on Yahweh and went chasing after the Quran of the nations, the art, the religion, the military. Soon as Israel turned its back on Yahuwah and started looking at the stuff of the other nations, they lost it all. So again, the dot, line, dot, what's the inverse of how do we get the stuff back? Seek Yahweh and his righteousness with all your heart. And when we do, and we return to his Het Resh Shin, as he wrote his Het Resh Tav, the nations, the horns of the nations are terrified. Yahweh will strike their hearts with fear and horror at just the thought of what's going on. Another interesting thing here in verse 15 of Zechariah 1, it says, my anger, well, let me back up to verse 14. He says to me, the angel speaking with me, Kara, Kufresh Aleph, learn how to read. That's the message that the angel gave him, saying, so declares Yahweh Zavot, Kuf Nun Aleph Tav Yod, I am Kana, zealous, jealous, furiously about Jerusalem, about the promise that I gave my heritage to Zion, the ones who do my command, Kuf Nun Aleph Hey, Gadola, Kana Gadola. Hugely, I'm passionately jealous and zealous about this, just in case somebody might have thought he had forgot about it and didn't care anymore. The next verse, Kuf Zadi Pei, anger, wrath, foamed up wrath, Gadol, huge, I am Kuf Zadi Pei, again, the same word, anger, wrath, foaming about the Goyim, they who, Shin Aleph Nun Yun Yod Mem, in their arrogant, making a noise, ease, carefree, complacent, tranquil, secure. When I am angry a little bit, they helped the idea of bringing about evil. In other words, when the nations around Israel saw Yahweh's being upset with his people, they go, you get them, Yahweh, they're a bunch of dirty rats. And so Yahweh was furious with his people, and so he killed them, slaughtered them, sent them into exile, banished them, turned his back, turned away. But here he says, well, it was only just a little bit. I was only a little angry with my people. But the neighboring people who were more than happy to help me express my anger well, so too, they will help me comfort my people. So the very next verse, verse 6, says, Lachan, therefore, ka'amer Yahweh, Shabbati, my rest, my Sabbath, my return, la Yerushalayim, berachamim, beti, when I return to comfort my heritage in warm affection, my house, Yod Bet Nun Hey, they will help build it. Nam Yahweh Zavot. Vav Kufav Hey, wait, hope, expect, lay in wait. There's the spider's web. Yod Nun Tet Hey. Well, see, when he was angry a little bit was Mem Ayin Tet, and here's Nun Tet Hey, stretch out, incline, extend, turn aside, pitch in unto Jerusalem. It's interesting. He's basically saying the nations who were more than happy to help pillage his people. Remember, he said the wicked would store up and give back to the righteous. When we become the righteous, receiving Yahweh's rachem, his favor, he'll have them turn around and give it all back. He's going to exact it from them. Verse 17, and again, this is Zechariah chapter 1, Od Kara, Ayin Vav Dalet. It's translated once again, but it actually means again and again, repeatedly and forcefully. Kuf Resh Aleph, learn how to read. La Amer Ka Amer, declaring, so says Yahweh Zavot. Ayin Vav Dalet, again and again, repeatedly, forcefully. Tav Pevav Zadi, Yod Nun Hey. Well, Zadi Yod Nun Hey means make a note, a mark distinguished. Pevav Zadi, explosive, speak, blossom, dispersed or scattered. And then it says Ayin Resh Yod, which would be, it's translated my city, but city is Ayin Yod Resh. So Ayin Resh Yod, a derivative of Ayin Resh Kaf. Eric, as in prepare, compare, order, row, assess, organize, edit, for good, matov. Ve nun chet mem, comfort and consolation. Yahweh, Od, again and again, repeatedly, forcefully, et Zion, one who does as commanded. Ve bachar, chosen, Od, again and again, repeatedly, forcefully, as I promised, as heritage. So that was the end of Zechariah chapter 1. So I'm not sure where we are in terms of time, but in the interest of time, let me conclude these matters by saying this. I gave you the last page. There's a little bit more we could talk about, but the people who talk about the tribulation, eschatology, study of end times, the bad guys.
We have another half hour if you want to keep going.
Okay, well, you got Daniel 7, Daniel 9. You've got everything that's translated that Yahweh has given his people, the Kadoshim Elyonim, over to the adversary, the devil, the beast, to feed on, to sport with, as it were, the Christians in the Colosseum, the Jews at the hands of the Spanish Inquisition. Why do we think that that's the only story? Because that's history, and because that's what Yahweh has done. As we read these books of the minor prophets, it says again and again, repeatedly, forcefully, the only reason that happened is because our ancestors, our forefathers, turned away from Yahweh's words, did not listen to his voice, would not walk in his ways, would not observe to guard his principles, his mosar, ethics and morals, do good, do justice, be righteous, don't deceive. That's about it. There's not a whole lot more. We found that to be, our ancestors found that to be not a way worth living. And so they went after other gods, other culture, buying things, more money, more military. bigger corporations to take over the world and run all the other countries as our slaves. Sorry, that whole system's got to be taken apart. But Yahweh's promise if you look at Zechariah 2, I have verses 9 to 14. Let me just read that. Zechariah 2, verses 9 to 14. I am, that's Ayin Aleph Nun Yod, Ehyeh, that's again I am, Aleph He Yod He, Laha, Lamed He, for her, stamps it, Nam Yahweh. Chet Vav Mem Tav. Chet Vav Mem is a wall around a city. Chet Mem is the word for warm. Ash Saviv, fire surrounding. I am for her a wall of fire. Vav Lamed Kaf Bet Vav Dalet. Glory! For glory! I am in her midst. Has that happened? Do we see it? Is it an experience? I believe his Ruach is in my heart. If we took on this mind, the threats of Goliath, our adversaries, the Philistines, or all those nations of the Philistines, I mean, the cities, Ashkelon, Ekron, Ashdod, as we read, they got nothing. Verse 10, oi, oi. And then it says, escape. But that word escape is vav, nun samik, vav. Nun samik, ayin is the word escape. This isn't the word escape. Nun samik is miracle, wonder, flag, banner, signal, but experiment and test. From the land of the north, the word north is zaphon, hidden, secret, and treasured, like the four winds. Aleph, Resh, Bet, Ayin, Ruach, Ruachot, like the four winds. He's basically saying, I scattered you across like the four winds of heavens. The word perishah, perishati, perishah, like chapter dividing, divide, separate sections. It's also the word for horse, set to sea, and explanation. So the word perashah is not just to divide, but it's to divide for the sake of clarifying explanation. Declare, clearly interpret, exact statement, and express distinctly with you, for you, Nam Yahweh. Again, this is playing off of the idea of going back into seeing the way he divided. So when he divides the 22 by 7, there's something about how he breaks things up to make it clear. But if you don't know that there's this code of structure engineered into the language, that there's this Mishkan pattern, that it's tied to the Moedim, the 7 days of creation, the Beatitudes, if you don't know that everything's been heavily orchestrated, it all sounds like he's just talking poetry. Oi Zion ha melita, meliti. That word mem lamed tet means escape, slip away, like to deliver or give birth. Yod vav shin bet tav. Shin bet tav is the word Shabbat, to sit, remain, dwell, return. Bat Babel would be daughter of Babel. Oi, hey vav yod, is that woe? Zion is do what I said. I could read this, that if you want to escape or slip away and you're dwelling in Babel, the way to escape is to come back to do what I said. It's the formula, it's the key to escape right there. Again, it depends on what you make of these words. Kikao mer, so because so says Yahweh's avot, future glory, achar kavod, I will dispatch or send toward the goyim the hey shin lamed lamed yon mem. Shin lamed lamed, which is again used in the next verse, means spoil, plundered, deprived, removed, negated, chained, fettered, a bunch of sheaves. You bundle up sheaves and drag one out, set it aside. At come with you ki ha naga, nun gimel ayin, strike, smite, afflict, wound, contaminate, or touch. If any one of these nations singles you out and touches you, he touches the bet tav. Bet hey means the apple of his eye. Bet tav would be the condition of the pupil of his own eye, ayino, at the end. This will be that Yahweh says the future glory is that his kavod, his presence, his pleasure with his people will be so obvious that whoever even thinks to do you harm is jamming his own finger into his own eye. Verse 13, therefore behold, ki hineni, mem nun yod pei. Well, nun yod pei is a derivative of nun pei, which is to sift, nun vav pei, treetop, panorama, to move, my arm. So it's like waving my arm above them and exist. Shin lamed lamed, that's the same word, spoiled, plundered, deprived. La abediham. In other words, the people that were enslaving Yahweh's people, he's going to turn the tables and they will become the servants of them. Hasn't happened yet. So I keep hearing that, oh, Jesus could come back. It's the rapture any day. It's the end of the world, the tribulation. None of this stuff has happened. So you have to think for yourself. Are you going to believe that the tribulation is about to happen, that the bad guys are going to just come in here and throw us into concentration camps? Remember, Zephaniah, concentration camps, conspiracy theories, secret hidden plans. Yahuwah's Raza'at, secret hidden plan, is to, well, like that picture Kurt put up, just absolutely destroy everything. Yes, that's right. Gentle Jesus, meek and mild, is going to come in like our war god and destroy all those guys when we return to his mouth, his words, his language, walking his way, sitting down on Shabbat, celebrating his Moedim. Where's the difficult part? They will know that Yahweh's avot has sent me. And then the last verse 14, Rani, running, ve sameach, rejoice, Bat Zion, daughter of Zion, the one deserving of, because you are doing as Yahweh commanded. That's daughter of Zion. Bet Tav, daughter, one deserving of. It's a village under the authority of a city. Ki hineni bo, behold, here gladly I arrive. Ve shekanti, I will dwell betocha, in your midst. Nam Yahweh. He doesn't leave any room for us to be afraid of our adversaries taking over the world. I don't see it any page on any one of these 12 books of the minor prophets. Anyway, there. Time for you guys to open it up to you all. If you have anything to say that you want to contribute or question or offer a different point of view, you're welcome to. Go ahead and turn on your microphones and your cameras, if you would.
Hugo was trying to bring up the verse in Isaiah.
Which says what?
I'll let him speak to it.
Sorry.
Well,
Go ahead, Hugo. You wanted to make a point?
yes. Well, connecting Zephaniah 2, verse 3, it says, perhaps you will be concealed on that day, on the day of Yah's anger. Isaiah 26:20 speaks of that. It says, like, enter your room, shut the doors behind you until the wrath has passed. I mean, can this be a connection?
Sure. Same voice.
Same voice. I mean, that's pretty much that. And you were talking about the horn, and if we look in blessings given to Joseph by Moses in Deuteronomy 33, it talks about his horns. He's going to have horns like a bull or a ram, and the glory will be like the horn of a ram. That's the glory of Joseph. So, and both with these horns is going to bring the nations together. There's going to be a oneness coming with both horns of Joseph, that we can see that. Just that.
It's a great thing to see. It's a whole different picture than the fear-mongering that they've tried to hand us all these years.
Well, it's the same thing as surrendering to the horns that are on the altar. You're surrendering yourself to the altar, sacrificing yourself on the altar, your old man on the altar. It's the same idea. It's like I say, it's the same voice. And the difficulty that we have, that people don't understand, the only difficulty is believing. You know, that's all. If you can learn to believe that what he says is true, that what Christianity is telling you about these battles and everything that happens at the end, how can you battle anybody? Any entity can battle against something that's all powerful. It doesn't work. And it's like the elephant on the fly or the elephant on the mouse. You know, whack. There's no competition. There's no battle. Just he says, you do this to my people, I'll allow it because they did this. But when I come back later, I'm going to punish you for what you did. So
I just wonder.
It's a matter of getting your mindset. Look at the scriptures. That's what he says. Believe it. Don't believe what the fathers of Christianity tell you. Don't believe what our Jewish brothers tell you, although there's some truth in what they say. But generally speaking, a little bit of truth is going to hurt you more than the full truth will, right? The full truth will just keep you totally protected. And that's what we have to learn. Learn to believe. Messiah said, oh, come on. In Matthew 11:30. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. It'll come back to me in a second here. But anyways.
I just wonder if this is optional.
What's that?
I was talking to Eric. I was wondering if this is optional. Like, this is what could happen if you will come back and keep Torah. But it's not automatic. Like, we've got something to accomplish if we want that. But if we don't accomplish it, then they're going to plow us under. And that's our own fault.
We have to say how many of who has to do what when. Okay, has to do what? We talked about that. How many? Us. Okay, and remember what he said of Abraham. The word 10 means what's called a legal quorum minimum, a minyan. A minyan would be 10. So 10 men, that's a Jewish thing, and I don't know where it gets its established basis. But the point is, I'd say there's probably at least 10 of us, if not more, scattered around the earth. And so if Yahweh has that kind of value of a regard for us, then don't worry about how many more. Let's just do it with all of our heart, trusting and believing every word. And I keep saying, there's verse after verse talking about it's in the words. It's the meaning of the letters. It's these words. He said it again and again, repeatedly, forcefully. How many times does he have to give us the same message? Quit looking at your enemies and lowering their voices. The last words out of Moshe's mouth, the very last sentence in Deuteronomy, was it 33, was, who is like you, Israel, that has such a promise from its Elohim? Your enemies will try to deceive you. That's all they have. Attempt at deception. Because if you listen to his voice, they can't lie to you.
And then, like, people are watching these videos. It's not Israel, the country off the Mediterranean Sea. It's Israel dispersed amongst the nations.
He said,
I still think that we in general don't understand that truth.
Yahweh said he has dispersed his people all through the land, all through the earth. And he does say in one place, I can't remember exactly where, but it might be in Zechariah, he says his people will be walking amongst the other nations, the other people, like a lion amongst sheep, who at any moment can just turn and grab one and eat it as a snack. We're not afraid of them. And it's like, that's in Micah, is that what you said?
Micah 5.
Micah. So we could still talk next week, one more week on the 12 minor prophets if you want, and readdress Micah. I talked about Micah weeks ago. But what I'm saying is the message is clear and repeated. If you know the 22 letters of the Aleph Tav, if you know the story of Yeshua, if you see the pattern, there's no mistaking his plan, his intention, his heart for his people. For his people. Every time he yearns for the moment that he can come back and be our champion and smash his enemies. And we have been withholding that under terms of incarceration, yes, but it's because of us that he hasn't. And we stand now at the threshold of opportunity that he wants to, he will, and that's the plan. We just have to play into it.
Like I was saying before in Matthew 11:30, Messiah says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Well, the yoke is the Torah, and he says the Torah is easy, and the burden is obedience. And he says it's light.
Just do what he said.
So, obey the Torah. It's not difficult. Lots of people, you can't do the law, you can't do the law. He says, my burden is easy. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. The yoke is the Torah, and obeying is easy once you have the right mindset.
Okay,
Sally had her hand raised on the.
Oh, go ahead, Sally. Go ahead.
Hey, well, I don't know if I was going to do this at the after show, but I wanted to say that, or somewhere in the study, I'm in the car, so I don't have your notes in front of me, but you were talking about Kuf Nun Aleph, the jealous, the zealous. That was ringing a bell with me because I just finished, during Shabbat, studying out Exodus 20, verse 5. And that's one of the commandments. And I was just suffering that as you were talking, because that ties into our, instructions. What it sounds like is Zephaniah knew what time it was. He knows what time it is. And he was paying attention, and he himself has suffered it. It's like he knows Yahuwah. And that knowing Yahuwah through his words, that was just speaking to me as you were describing your study. So I just kind of wanted to mention Exodus 20 verse 5. It's an instruction not to bow down to the other nations, to other Elohim, Akrim, and it's a wonderful study. I highly encourage anybody doing that. Just that verse, so good. But that's what I wanted to say.
The 10 Commandments is Exodus 20, just so people know, which is what she was referring to. It's also found in Deuteronomy 4, but specifically Exodus 20 is the one you're mentioning.
Right, verse 5. And so that spelling is in that verse, the Kuf Nun Aleph word. And
it's pronounced Kona.
I don't have my study in front of me, or I would talk about it a little more. I'm in the car, but yeah.
I just want to make one point also. We had put up a video a couple weeks ago called Poor Keeter that we had made a couple years ago. Poor Keeter, Keeter. So somebody had just put up on Facebook a week or two ago an article about the 10 wonderful aspects of bacon. So in Zechariah 2 verse 1, it talks about the 4 carpenters. And a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote an article called The Trouble with Christmas. And Facebook or YouTube or somebody wouldn't post it, took it down. So I changed it to be 4 carpenters. It's about 70 pages long, Trouble with Christmas, 4 carpenters, talking about Zechariah 2:1. Well, so I just wrote this article about 22 pages called Trouble with Bacon. I sent Kurt a copy there just to proofread it before, if anybody wants it, you're welcome to it, but it's a response to saying, well, what's really so bad about bacon? It was similar in some sense to the video that we did called Poor Keeter, but I tried to address a number of points that are scriptural as to what the trouble is.
Yeah, if you get a chance, send it to me by email if you don't mind, Eric.
Okay. And I don't mean to be I don't mean to be rude or be gross, but I'm questioning, specifically in I believe it's Isaiah 66, is it? Where Isaiah is getting this message from on high. It says, there are certain individuals who very sanctimoniously consider themselves to be kadoshim, pure and sacred, and they go to garden parties and they have broth, which is reptile and rodent and pork. And Yahweh's going to consume them altogether, as if to say they're going to burn in hell. And it's like, what? For eating bacon? Well, that's what it looks like. It says in Isaiah and in the book of Revelation, those who abominate themselves are not getting into the kingdom. And the word to what happens to you when you eat pork is the same word as if you conduct homosexuality or witchcraft and sorcery. And so you have to make the determination. But if nobody ever tells you that what you eat might keep you out of the kingdom, just like jumping over the threshold or wearing foreign garments. What did we read today? Is he so trivial? I thought it's believing in your heart. Anyway, I'm addressing a few matters in the pages of Trouble with Bacon. And,
That was Isaiah 66:17. It really is eye-opening.
Well, does he care or not? I'm just trying to look at the subject matter. So
you can say, well, all you want about bacon, and I have to admit that the smell of bacon cooking is a nice smell. Some people say, I know they revolt against it, but that's not true. It's a nice smell, but so is sin a lot of fun, right?
Well,
so you got to take a look. You got to make a decision. He didn't say that sin was not fun. He just said that it was not good for you because the end result is you won't make it into the kingdom. So just because you can smell it doesn't mean you have to eat it.
Just for what's worth, I'll give you a little bit of a what do they call that when you tell somebody?
Mark, sorry, Eric, I have to disagree with you, Mark. I completely am repulsed at the smell of bacon or any kind of pork cooking. I don't think it smells good.
Well, there's going to be anomalies no matter what anybody says, but there's some people
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I'm not turned off by it. Like I say, it smells good.
I don't think so. Well, that's not my kind of perfume.
Just so you know, my sense of humor is maybe not palatable to some people, but I wrote a few things in there that I hopefully will just be appreciated. I'll send it to you, Mark. I sent Kurt a copy, and Kurt, you might want to look at it, and if it seems palatable for public consumption, you can put it up in the chat room or wherever. I'm responding to somebody else who was encouraging the appreciation of bacon on Facebook, I think is where it was. I didn't see it, but somebody told me it was up there. So it's like, okay, really? You want to throw a rock in the cave of a hibernating bear? You want him to come out? Is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to get me to respond? Okay, I'll respond.
Good.
Anyway.
Hey, Hugo, do you want to close us out in prayer? I'll post the bacon article in the chat right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Praise you, Yahuwah. Praise your name, Father. Every day and forever. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this teaching. Thank you for this fellowship we have with you. Praise your name again. And may our heart just be wanting to be loved by you. May we be all wanting to do what you want to do. May this be our desire of our heart. May we not harden our heart to what you say. Our prayer. Praise your name, Father. In Yahushua. Hallelujah. Amen.